There was a moment here in Australia, when the wind seemed to whisper more than simply breeze. Not the wind through a suburb where every house is connected to the same grid, drawing from the same source, dependent on the same infrastructure that has not been questioned in 3 generations. The wind across open land. Land where the power comes from the sun and the water comes from the rain, and the silence at night is not the absence of the city but the presence of something older. Something that was here before the wires and the pipes and the quarterly bills and the feeling that you are permanently dependent on systems you did not choose and cannot leave. There are places in Australia where people are living completely off the grid. Not as a statement. Not as a weekend experiment. As a life. A real, functioning, surprisingly affordable life where the solar panels on the roof power everything that needs powering, where the rainwater tank supplies everything that needs water, where the composting system processes everything that needs processing, and where the monthly expenses drop to a level that makes people who are still on the grid look at the numbers with an expression that sits somewhere between disbelief and the specific envy of someone who realizes they have been paying for something they did not have to pay for. We are counting down 9 Australian locations for off-grid living where land is affordable, regulations are manageable, and the infrastructure of independence is within reach of people who are serious about building it. Some locations have established off-grid communities where the knowledge is shared and the learning curve is shorter than going alone. Some have land so cheap and councils so relaxed that you can build what you need without the permits turning the project into something unrecognizable. And one location has a combination of solar potential, water access, cheap land, and community support that makes it the best overall off-grid destination in the country. One location gets over 300 days of sunshine and land for under $3,000 an acre. Another has an established community of off-grid residents who have been there long enough to know everything that goes wrong and how to fix it. And yes, one place has councils so hands-off about what you build on your land that the regulations have not caught up with the people living there and show no signs of doing so. Think you know where to live off the grid in Australia? Let's find out if you are ready for places where independence is not a philosophy but a practice, where the power bill is zero because there is no power bill, and where the hardest part is not the solar system or the water tank but the decision to stop waiting for the right moment and simply begin. Like this video if you have ever felt that the life you wanted was somewhere you had not looked yet. Subscribe because one day you will want to disconnect from the grid, and this channel is your guide to the places where that is not only possible but affordable and already being done by people who were where you are not very long ago. Let's break it down. Number 9. The Daintree Lowlands, Queensland. The Daintree Lowlands sit at the northern tip of Queensland where the oldest rainforest on Earth meets the Great Barrier Reef, and they represent the most unusual off-grid living environment in Australia. A place where off-grid is not a lifestyle choice but a geographic requirement, because the grid simply does not reach here. The Daintree north of the river has no mains power. No reticulated water. No sewage system. The approximately 150 properties north of the Daintree River are all independently powered, all independently watered, and all connected to the outside world by a single cable ferry that does not run after dark. This is not remoteness as a preference. It is remoteness as the condition of existence here, accepted and managed by every property owner. Land and properties in the Daintree Lowlands are available at prices that reflect both the extraordinary environment and the genuine challenges of maintaining property in a tropical rainforest. Properties range from $250,000 to over $1 million depending on size and condition, not the cheapest on this list, but the only location where off-grid living is the legal and physical default for every single resident. The environment is extraordinary and serious. The rainforest is World Heritage listed and 70% of Australia's butterfly species live here. Cyclones are real. Flooding is real. The humidity is persistent and serious. Everything rots faster than you expect and requires maintenance at a frequency that surprises newcomers. One resident who has been there for 9 years wrote, "Living off-grid in the Daintree is not a choice you make once. It is a choice you make every day. The solar, the water, the maintenance, it is constant. But the rainforest is outside my window and the reef is 40 minutes away and I have not paid a power bill in 9 years. The daily choice is worth it. The trade-off is cost, maintenance intensity, cyclone risk, and the genuine isolation of a community that is physically separated from the rest of Australia by a river ferry. Picture this. It is a morning in the dry season. The rainforest is doing what it does, which is everything, simultaneously, at a pace that makes your own pace feel appropriate for the first time. Your solar system powered the night. Your tank is full from last season's rain. The reef is 40 minutes south. You have not paid a power bill in years. The cassowary outside your window does not care about any of this and is making good decisions accordingly. Number 8. The Flinders Ranges foothills, South Australia. The Flinders Ranges rise from the South Australian plain north of Port Augusta in a way that makes the word range feel inadequate. These are ancient mountains, 500 million years old, worn to their cores, the color of rust and ochre and something in between that has no name in standard vocabulary. The foothills and surrounds of the Flinders Ranges offer some of the most accessible off-grid living in South Australia. Land is available from $15,000 to $40,000 per acre depending on location and water access. The council areas surrounding the ranges, Flinders Ranges Council and Outback Areas Community Development Trust, have relatively relaxed approaches to alternative dwellings and off-grid systems. Solar potential is excellent with over 280 days of sunshine annually. Water is the critical consideration in the Flinders Ranges. Rainfall is seasonal and unreliable. Rainwater tanks are essential and need to be large. Bore water is possible on some properties but requires drilling and testing. The off-grid residents who succeed here are the ones who plan their water systems with the seriousness the climate requires. Port Augusta, with a full hospital, supermarkets, and regional services, is within reach of most Flinders Ranges properties, between 1 and 2 hours depending on location. The Flinders Ranges National Park is on the doorstep and will paint a pound, one of the great Australian landscapes, is accessible as a regular excursion rather than a special occasion. One off-grid resident who has been in the foothills for 5 years wrote, "The Flinders Ranges will teach you everything you need to know about water if you are willing to learn. I know more about rainfall patterns, tank capacity, and water use than I ever thought I would. I also know that the light on Wilpena at dawn is the reason people have been painting this landscape for 100 years. The trade-off is water scarcity, summer heat exceeding 40 degrees, and the genuine remoteness of a region where the distances between things are real." Picture this. It is a dawn in the Flinders Ranges. The light is coming up over the ancient mountains and doing what light does here, which is making everything the color of something you do not have a word for. Your solar system is charging. Your tank has enough. The pound is an hour away and you have been there enough times that you go on weekdays when nobody else does. This is your life. You built it from a block of land that cost $20,000 and a determination to understand water. Number 7. The Atherton Tablelands, Queensland. The Atherton Tablelands sit behind Cairns in far north Queensland at an elevation that changes everything. The heat of the tropical coast becomes something manageable, the humidity drops to a level that allows sleep, and the rainforest continues but with the particular quality of upland rainforest that is different from coastal rainforest in ways that take time to understand and then become the thing you cannot imagine living without. The Tablelands have an established community of off-grid and alternative living residents that goes back decades. The councils, Tablelands Regional Council, have a relatively tolerant approach to alternative dwellings in rural zones. Land is available from $20,000 to $60,000 per acre depending on location and infrastructure. The rainfall on the Tablelands is among the highest in Australia in some areas, which means water harvesting is genuinely viable as a primary water source. The combination of high rainfall, high solar potential, fertile volcanic soil, and an established alternative community makes the Atherton Tablelands one of the most complete off-grid environments in the country. You can grow food here. You can harvest water here. You can generate power here. The community around you has been doing all three for long enough to have solved most of the problems that first-timers encounter. Cairns, with a full base hospital, international airport, and comprehensive services, is between 45 minutes and 90 minutes from most tablelands properties. One off-grid resident who moved from Brisbane wrote, "I came to the tablelands because someone told me the rainfall was reliable. They were right. My tanks have not been empty in 4 years. I grow most of my own food on volcanic soil that makes gardening feel like cheating. My power bill is 0. I had not understood until I moved here that those 3 things together, water, food, power, change everything about how anxiety works. The trade-off is the wet season, which is serious, roads can flood, access can be cut, and the humidity returns with force from November to April. Picture this. It is a dry season morning on the tablelands. The mist is lifting from the rainforest below the escarpment. Your tanks are full from 6 months of rain. Your garden is doing what gardens do on volcanic soil, which is produce more than you planned. Your solar system is working. Cairns is an hour away when you need it. The rainforest is beginning at your boundary fence. This is what you built. This is what enough looks like. Number 6. Far northwestern New South Wales, Taiboabura region. The Taiboabura region sits in the far northwest corner of New South Wales where the state meets Queensland and South Australia, and it is the kind of country that makes the word remote feel like an understatement. This is corner country, the place where 3 states touch and the outback begins in earnest and does not apologize for its scale. Land in the Taiboabura region is among the cheapest in New South Wales. Pastoral leases and freehold land are available at prices that reflect the remoteness and the carrying capacity of arid country, from $1,000 to $3,000 per acre for large parcels. The councils in this region, Berkshire, Broken Hill City, unincorporated Far West, have minimal building codes and limited enforcement capacity, which creates genuine freedom for alternative dwellings and off-grid systems. Solar potential is exceptional. This is one of the highest solar radiation areas in Australia with over 310 days of sunshine annually. Water is the defining challenge, requiring either bore water, transported water, or serious rainwater harvesting infrastructure. The distances to services are genuine. Broken Hill is the nearest city with a hospital and it is over 200 kilometers from Taiboabura. The landscape is gibber plain and mulga and dry creek beds and the particular silence of country so old and so empty that it affects people physically, a slowing, a settling, a sense that the urgency you carry from elsewhere was contextual rather than necessary. One off-grid landholder in the region wrote, "I own 40 acres of outback New South Wales. I paid $9,000 for it. My solar system cost more than the land." That inversion, where the infrastructure costs more than the ground it sits on, tells you something about where the value actually is. The land is almost free. The freedom is not. The trade-off is extreme isolation, extreme heat, serious water challenges, and a level of self-sufficiency that is not optional but the basic condition of existence this far from services. Picture this. It is night in corner country. The stars above this region, with no city within 300 kilometers, are the stars that most Australians have stopped being able to see. Your solar batteries are full from the day. The bore is running. The silence is the loudest thing and you have learned that this is not absence. This is presence. The country is here. It has always been here. You are the recent arrival. Number 5. The Huon Valley, Tasmania. The Huon Valley sits south of Hobart in a landscape of apple orchards and river flats and hills that turn in autumn to the kind of color that makes people from the mainland understand why Tasmanians are difficult to persuade to leave. The valley has a long history of alternative and self-sufficient living, communities and individuals who came in the 1970s and stayed and built knowledge about off-grid living in a temperate climate that is now being passed on. Land in the Huon Valley is available from $30,000 to $80,000 per acre depending on location and infrastructure. The Huon Valley Council has a relatively progressive approach to alternative dwellings and off-grid systems compared with many mainland councils. Rainfall is reliable. The valley receives over 800 millimeters annually in most locations, which makes rainwater harvesting genuinely viable as a primary water source. The temperate climate is the feature that distinguishes Huon Valley off-grid living from most other locations on this list. You are not managing extreme heat. You are not planning around cyclones. The challenges are winter cold and the management of a wood heating system, which is the kind of challenge that most off-grid residents in this valley describe as deeply satisfying rather than difficult. Hobart, with full hospital services, an international airport, and comprehensive city amenities, is between 45 minutes and 90 minutes from most valley properties. One off-grid resident who has been in the Huon Valley for 7 years wrote, "The apple trees were here when I arrived. The previous owners planted them and left. I make cider from them every autumn. My rainwater tank has not been empty in 7 years. My wood heater burns timber I cut from my own land." Tasmania is the only place in Australia where I could have built this life for what it cost me to build it. The trade-off is cold winters requiring a serious heating system, distance from specialist medical care, and the particular challenges of maintaining off-grid systems in a wet and cold climate. Picture this. It is an autumn afternoon in the Huon Valley. The apple trees are heavy. The river is doing its slow thing below the orchard. Your wood pile is stacked for winter. Your rainwater tank is full from 6 months of Tasmanian rain. The color of the hills is the color that people move to Tasmania to see. Hobart is an hour away. This valley is where you live. You built this. You grew into it. It fit. Number 4. The Darling Downs hinterland, Queensland. The Darling Downs sit west of the Great Dividing Range in southern Queensland, one of the most productive agricultural regions in Australia, flat, rich, reliable, the country that feeds a significant portion of the nation without making a fuss about it. The hinterland areas that border the downs, the rolling country between the flat plains and the ranges, offer off-grid living conditions that combine good solar potential, manageable water access, and land prices that reflect agricultural value rather than lifestyle premium. Land in the Darling Downs hinterland is available from $15,000 to $45,000 per acre depending on location. The local councils, Southern Downs Regional Council, Goondiwindi Regional Council, have rural zoning categories that allow alternative dwellings and off-grid systems with manageable permit requirements. Solar potential is strong with over 290 days of sunshine annually. Water access through bore or rainwater is reliable in most areas. The proximity to services is one of the Darling Downs hinterland's strongest points on this list. Toowoomba, a city of 140,000 with full hospital services, a university, and comprehensive amenities, is within reach of most hinterland properties. Brisbane is between 2 and 3 hours. One off-grid family who moved from Brisbane wrote, "We wanted off-grid but we were not willing to sacrifice the children's schooling or access to medical care. The Darling Downs hinterland gave us both. We are 45 minutes from Toowoomba. We grow vegetables. We have solar. We have bore water. We live the way we wanted to live and the city is there when we need it." The trade-off is summer heat which is serious, and the agricultural context which means neighbors are farmers with farming operations that produce noise and dust at farming times. Picture this. It is an evening on the Darling Downs hinterland. The plains stretch west below you and the ranges rise east, and between them your property sits in rolling country that produces food in every direction. Your solar system handled the day. The bore is reliable. Toowoomba is 45 minutes. The Downs are doing what they have been doing for 10,000 years, which is being extraordinarily fertile and asking nothing in return. Number 3. The Kimberley outskirts, Western Australia. The Kimberley is one of the last genuinely wild regions in Australia, ancient sandstone ranges, extraordinary gorges, bogue trees that are thousands of years old, rivers that run full in the wet season and dry to waterholes in the dry. The outskirts of the Kimberley. The areas within reach of Broome and Kununurra but outside the town boundaries, offer off-grid living in a landscape that most Australians have seen in photographs and not understood was accessible to them. Land on the Kimberley outskirts is available in limited supply and at prices that reflect the combination of remoteness and extraordinary landscape value, from $30,000 to over $100,000 per acre depending on location and water access. The Shire of Broome and Shire of Windham East Kimberley have rural zoning that permits off-grid dwellings with manageable requirements. Solar potential is among the highest in Australia, over 320 days of sunshine annually. The remote area tax offset applies to residents of the Kimberley, providing ongoing annual financial benefit that partially offsets the higher cost of goods in a remote region. Broome and Kununurra both have hospitals and regional services. The fly-in fly-out culture of the mining industry means air connections are better than the road distances suggest. One off-grid resident outside Broome wrote, "I have 300 days of sunshine and a bore that runs clear and cold. My solar system is oversized because I could afford to oversize it and I have never regretted that decision." The Kimberley is not comfortable in the way that comfortable places are comfortable. It is extraordinary in a way that makes comfort seem like a smaller thing than you thought. The trade-off is extreme wet season flooding that can cut access for weeks, extreme heat, crocodile management as a genuine daily consideration in some areas, and the high cost of goods in a remote region. Picture this. It is a dry season morning in the Kimberley. The light is coming up over sandstone country that is 350 million years old. A boab tree outside your property boundary has been there for 2,000 years. Your solar is charging. Your bore is running. Broome is 90 minutes away. The gorge behind your land is yours every morning. The country does not know you are here, and this is the correct relationship to have with country this old. Number 2. Kangaroo Island Hinterland, South Australia. Kangaroo Island sits off the Fleurieu Peninsula of South Australia, 45 minutes by ferry from Cape Jervis, and the hinterland, the inland rural areas away from the tourist coast, offers off-grid living conditions that are unusual on this list because they combine genuine island isolation with proximity to Adelaide and with a government actively seeking new residents following the 2020 bushfires. Land in the Kangaroo Island hinterland is available from $20,000 to $60,000 per acre in areas affected by the fires, where the recovery has created genuine purchase opportunities. The Kangaroo Island Council has been actively supportive of alternative and off-grid dwellings as part of the island's recovery and repopulation strategy. Rainfall is reliable. The island receives between 400 and 800 millimeters annually, making rainwater harvesting viable. Solar potential is strong. The South Australian government's relocation grants of up to $10,000 for eligible movers to Kangaroo Island apply, which can offset the cost of establishing off-grid infrastructure. Adelaide, via ferry and road, is a day trip when necessary. One off-grid resident who bought fire-affected land on the island wrote, "I paid $32,000 for 8 acres. The trees are coming back. The wildlife is coming back. I am building a house that will run entirely on solar and rainwater. The island is healing and I am part of that process, and my power bill is zero, and the sea eagles are nesting in the regrowth at the back of my property. The trade-off is island logistics. Everything that comes to the island comes by ferry, which affects costs and timing, and the memory of the fires which is present in the landscape and the community." Picture this. It is a spring morning on Kangaroo Island. The regrowth is extraordinary. The speed at which the island is recovering is one of those things that makes you reconsider what resilience means. Your solar system is charging in the morning sun. Your rainwater tank is full from the winter rains. A sea eagle is doing something magnificent above the recovering bush. The ferry to the mainland runs tomorrow if you need it. You do not need it. You are exactly where you chose to be. Number 1. The tablelands of far north Queensland. Ravenshoe and surrounds. Ravenshoe takes the top spot as the best overall location for off-grid living in Australia because it offers the combination that no other location on this list quite achieves. Reliable rainfall, exceptional solar potential, affordable land, a council with a practical approach to alternative dwellings, an established off-grid community with real knowledge to share, proximity to services, and a landscape of such extraordinary beauty that the life it frames is not a compromise but an upgrade. Ravenshoe sits at the southern end of the Atherton tablelands at an elevation of 930 meters, the highest town in Queensland. And the elevation does to the tropical climate what elevation always does, which is make it livable. The temperatures are mild. The humidity is manageable. The rainfall is among the most reliable in Australia. Land around Ravenshoe is available from $15,000 to $45,000 per acre depending on location and infrastructure. The Tablelands Regional Council has a practical and relatively permissive approach to rural alternative dwellings. Rainfall averages over 1,000 millimeters annually in most areas, making rainwater harvesting not just viable but straightforward. Solar potential is strong at over 290 days of sunshine annually. The off-grid community around Ravenshoe has been established for decades. There are residents who have been living this way for 30 years and who have solved every problem that new arrivals are likely to encounter. This knowledge is shared freely in a community that understands that everyone's success makes the community more viable. Cairns, with a full base hospital, international airport, and complete regional services, is 90 minutes away. The Millstream Falls, the widest single-drop waterfall in Australia, are 20 minutes from the town centre. The Tully Gorge, the Crater Lakes, the rainforest, all of it is within reach as daily life rather than occasional excursion. One off-grid resident who has been in the Ravenshoe area for 11 years wrote, "I chose Ravenshoe because of the rainfall, the elevation, the land prices, and the community. 11 years later I can tell you that all four were the right reasons. My rainwater tank has never been empty. My solar has never failed me. My neighbors have taught me everything I know about living this way. And the waterfall is 20 minutes away. I go on Tuesday mornings when nobody else is there." The trade-off is the genuine remoteness from major cities and the specific challenges of the wet season, during which access to some properties can be difficult and the rainfall, while welcome, is serious in its intensity. Picture this. It is a Tuesday morning. You are at Millstream Falls and there is nobody else here. The water is doing what water does when it has 900 meters of elevation to work with and nobody watching. Your solar system is charging back at the property. Your tanks are full. Your neighbors know your name and your situation and are available when you need them. Cairns is 90 minutes south. This morning is yours. The falls are yours. The life you built in this place, at this elevation, in this rainfall, with this community, this is yours. And it cost you a block of land and the decision to begin. And in that quiet hush, beneath the whispering gums, in the solar-powered mornings and the rainwater tank evenings and the boar-fed gardens and the star-filled nights that off-grid living makes possible, I realized not all shadows hide. Some simply invite us to see. We just counted down 9 Australian locations for off-grid living. Some will give you the cheapest land in the country. Some will give you the most reliable rainfall. Some will give you a community that has already solved the problems you have not encountered yet. And one will give you all of it together, the water, the sun, the land, the people, the landscape, and ask only that you show up and begin. The costs are real. The challenges are real. The distances are real. But so is the possibility that somewhere on a Queensland tableland, in a South Australian gorge, on an island recovering from fire, in the outback silence of corner country, there is a block of land and a life waiting to be built that does not include a power bill or a water bill or the specific anxiety of being permanently dependent on systems you did not choose. If this video showed you something worth seeing, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a different kind of map. We will see you in the next one. This video expresses poetic and reflective storytelling. Land prices and council regulations are based on publicly available information and may vary. Always conduct thorough legal, practical, and financial research before purchasing land or establishing off-grid systems. Council requirements vary significantly by location. It does not offer financial, legal, or real estate advice.